Alright everybody, welcome. Me and Colin have some interesting news for you. I'm your host today, Mohammed. I'm joined by my lovely co-host today, Colin Wong. And we are going to be talking about the new starter deck. So we just got some confirmation online on Twitter through Asian distributors about the release dates for these, as well as who they are. So to quickly go over it, the red deck is going to be OP09 Shanks. The green star deck is going to be OP07 Bonnie. The blue star deck is OP09 Buggy. The purple star deck is OP09 Purple Black Luffy. The black star deck is OP09 Blackbeard. Oh, yeah, allow OP09 leaders. And lastly, the yellow star deck is Yellow Green Yamato from OP06. A bit more interesting than the star decks, however, is their release dates. So supposedly, according to Asian distributors sources, they will be releasing for Asia in June of 2025. And according to American distribution sources that we'll be linking below, they will be releasing for America June of 2025. So this is potentially the first unified release for East and West. What are your thoughts, Colin?
So I'm not extremely surprised that we're getting a unified release. I'm a little bit surprised on the way that they're going about it. I didn't think it was so far-fetched that Bandai would maybe try something like this to try to unify release schedules between Asian territories and the rest of the world. Now, is this confirmed? No, but this seems to have a very heavy implication that might be what they're trying to go, especially if you look at their other Bandai card games. Like Digimon is already in that process of becoming a fully unified release schedule, and Gundam is already like that, and so is Fusion World for Dragon Ball.
Specifically for Digimon, the upcoming set will be the unifying set, and then set 21, which releases in April, will be the first unified release for East and West. Very interesting for the applications. Both East and West have this cycle they follow where we get a new set every 3 months, so that we get 4 new sets a year. That's why the anniversary sets are always 4 sets above 1. So set 5 was the first anniversary, set 9 is the second anniversary, set 13 will be the third anniversary, as long as the release schedule holds. But what this means is, since OP11 is releasing in Japan in March 1st, their starter decks should be releasing close to or slightly after the release of OP12 for the Asian territories. For North America and the Western side of the game, they're dated to release alongside OP11, which means that we kind of have our own unique format for once, where we have so much more to play with versus having less to play with. Since the only other time that we haven't had a similar card pool is when stuff has been banned. For example, with Red Purple Law was banned before the release of OP8, while the Asian territories got to play with OP8 Black Maria Red Purple Law for a while. So that leads to some interesting questions about whether we'll just develop a whole new meta around the starter decks because we don't have the OP12 cards to maybe balance them out, or how our meta might develop differently because of it. I don't know. It's exciting. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah, it is exciting. The fact of the matter with the starter decks, though, is that we just don't know. Obviously, the last cycle of the 6-color starter decks we've had showed that, a couple of them were really, really, really good, being Dofi and Purple Luffy, right?
Even Smoker has performed reasonably in events, to be honest.
But then the rest of them were not so good. So a couple good cards, the 7-drop Whitebeard, 5
exactly. That's the
Ace.
thing, though. It's we don't know,
because we just don't know. They could all be broken, they could all be terrible, and then maybe it's a mix. Some are excellent, some are not so good.
Some might just have pieces that are good in other decks. It's going to be hard to tell. It's always exciting, though. I will say, I hope that Buggy gets broken out of his mind. I want to see the genius gesture at work. That'd be a fun time.
I'm hoping they print an Exodia Buggy of the head, the right arm, left arm, left leg, right leg.
If you get all 5 pieces of Buggy on the table, you win the match.
Or just find any 5 cross guild cards in your deck and just play them for free.
Okay. That's balanced.
Yeah, just
four
something like
buggies and
over
a
the top
Mihawk,
and
four
ridiculous.
buggies and one Mihawk out of your deck. Bottom your opponent's entire board. That'd be
Yeah, just
pretty
something
good.
ridiculous. It would be crazy.
But yeah, it's very exciting news to have, and it's nice to like have. I mean, all of this is confirmed through distributors, but like release dates can like be pushed back by Bandai, so like maybe they get pushed back. We don't know. But if they don't, we're going into a very exciting time for the Western side of the game for once, where we won't actually have a solved meta for once, because our card pool is going to be like drastically different than it normally would be. Like, we'll get to see what did well in Japan's OP11 format, since they'll have it for roughly 3 months before the starter decks come out, so we'll have that data to go off of. But with the release of the starter decks, we just won't. We'll just have so much more to test with and try and figure out before then.
Yeah, and let us know in the comments too. What do you guys think? Because like, as far as should One Piece be a unified release worldwide, I personally, and I think Mohammed is too, we're proponents of that, in the sense of, like we just said, it's like a lot of things, especially for us being competitive players, a lot of things are already sort of solved when we get the cards in North America and the rest of the world. Yeah, there's a few things that come under the radar. Like, I think the most recent example is the Italian team when they figure out ST14 Luffy, the mono black starter deck Luffy. But for the most part, it's like things like Sakazuki was 80 to 90% figured out by the time it already got over here. Whereas as for Japan, yeah, they had like the whole process to go through, which I thought that would have been really cool. And I just can't remember like the last time since ST14 Luffy that we've had like
there wasn't anything
a dark
crazy.
horse come out of nowhere.
Yeah, like a lot of it is like some optimizations or like meta adaptations for the West. Like Black Yellow Luffy, there have been people playing Shirahoshi blocker, which wasn't really seen overseas, but it's been performing very well over here. It's so interesting, like, as a and don't get me wrong, it's not bad to have a solved format, because it means that instead of having to solve the format yourself, all you have to do is figure out how to play the deck and get really good at it and express mastery, which is, again, it's fun to learn and like improve at decks. I've been playing a lot more Dofi recently, trying to get really good at that, and there's a lot of steps to learn for that deck for every matchup, to be frank. And it's exciting as a competitive player, but there's like a whole other layer we just don't get to experience because we don't have, we get to see like all this data in advance of what performs well.
Oh, well, Dofi's a good example too. Like the introduction of Josu as a tech in Asia, when Dofi was like one of the strongest decks. When the starter decks came out, they weren't playing Josu for quite a while. And then people started to figure out, oh, actually, Josu's like a really strong card for the mirror match and some other matches. But then we get to hear in the West when the Dofi deck came out, and off the bat we were already playing Josu. Like, we already knew about the techs.
Right.
It was
nobody
like could really figure it out.
Like you put it spot on with like the Sakazuki example, right? Like at the start of their meta in OP05, like as Sakazuki started to get solved, they were playing like so much top end. They were playing like 3 9-drop Mihawks, like 2 Kaidos, a bunch of like 7-cost Borsalinos, some like other random like top end, and then as it went on, they just like cut 90% of it, because the only top end you really needed was 10-cost Kaido, and then everything else was just kind of fluff.
Right. So that's where I am. I mean, again, feel free to disagree with me in the comments down below. There are, like we said, there are some pros to having a delayed release, such as like, knowing what to buy, what to invest in beforehand. If you're, especially if you're in the hobby on a budget, I can understand where those sentiments might be coming from. But otherwise, like, it's kind of cool for cards to have value too, in a sense, where, like, in a monetary sense, when a set just releases and we don't know what SRs are good or not, so like some SRs are maybe lower priced than what they should be, and other SRs are higher priced. It's just more exciting, I guess. Maybe not the most exciting for some of the finance pros in the hobby, but
tune into my market watches. I'll keep you guys updated.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe it's more content for us, but especially for us as content creators too. Like, I'll be honest, it's like not the easiest to make guides and deck profiles for new decks, especially when they come out here in America, just because, like, realistically, I'm just rehashing something that was already found in Asia, like, a month ago, so...
It's just, like, translating it over if it hasn't been done already, which it's, like, very likely it got done early on. Because as people see in a format a deck performs, they just tend to, like, translate it very quickly just so people are aware of what it does and, like, how to interact with it. Like, Green Purple Luffy is a very strong deck that we can see that's come out of EBO2, and people have already been, like, explaining, like, how the deck functions, comparing it to Red Purple Law but without the removal, just more consistent because it's all archetypal. So it's things like that where it's nice to know what's good so we could start practicing and getting used to it earlier and, like, learning how to play it or play against it. But the drawback is, like, because it comes oversolved, there's, like, very little discovery we get to make and very few interpretations we get to develop because of that.
Yeah, like, it's just, like, an excitement thing, too. It's, like, when a new set comes out here in the West, the fact of the matter is that I'm already kind of, like, burned out on the deck or on the new cards just based on what I was already consuming content-wise. Like, between, you know, when OP9 came out, OP9 is actually, like, a very diverse meta. It's actually, like, a really fun meta, don't get me wrong, but when the set came out, I was already like, man, I want to play Usopp in OP10. Like, or I'm excited for, like, EB2, you know.
It's always so interesting, and
like, I'm always excited for the next thing in Asia, but, like, obviously I'm on a 3-month delay, right?
Right, and, like, the fact that they're releasing these starter decks, frankly, roughly 3 months before we should get them, like, arguably 2 months before we should get them. It's like, it'd be nice if we can move towards a unified release, but it also speaks to, like, our meta has the potential to be, like, so much different. Because, frankly, some of these starter decks don't really need that much support since they're already pretty good. And, like, some of them can use a lot of support, but the starter decks are only introducing 5 new cards per deck. Like, Blackbeard is already a top contender in set 10. We don't know if they'll hold through set 11 since it hasn't released yet. People haven't been able to test it. But if you're arguably one of the top 2 decks of the format, I don't know if you need 5 more cards dedicated to your archetype.
Yeah, let me rant about Blackbeard real quick. Why is Blackbeard getting more support? I hate that deck.
Like, they were alright. Not really a hot take.
Okay.
It should have been Thriller Bark. There are a lot of Thriller Bark fans. I'm one of them. I loved Gecko Moria, the leader. He's so cool. He needed some more support. He was, like, the only other mono black leader that hadn't got... Like, I get it. That they couldn't give, like, 3 Emperors starter decks and then not give one to the 4th. But, like, come on, man. Did Blackbeard need it?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Thriller Bark was such... I feel like Thriller Bark was a fan favorite archetype to play for a lot of people, especially when it was good. It was the most consistent way of fetching your A-Drop Moria. It was the most fair way of playing your A-Drop Moria. It was a deck that was just good and felt good to play. It felt rewarding to play. And for a lot of people like the vibe of, like, you know, getting to play out of your graveyard. That was, like, your first true Reanimator deck. And then they're not giving it anything.
Hey, you don't know that maybe those activate mains go crazy in Moria. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, or maybe, like, the Blackbeard support will randomly support Moria too somehow. But
it's like Buggy needs a little bit more than just, like, 5 cards. I mean, if they're 5 really good cards, right?
That's what I'm saying. 5 pieces of Exodia, the head, the 2 limbs.
But it's like
4 limbs.
Shanks is already okay. Shanks may be, like, slightly underperforming, like I said in my market video, but he's not a bad deck. He's still, like, a good deck. Like, he's a tier 2 deck. But, like, does he need 5 pieces of support?
Bonnie, I understand. Like, it's a good deck, but not. Green's definitely been a little bit.
It just depends on how strong it is, right?
Releases.
If Bonnie gets 5 pieces of support as good as Doflamingo got in his starter deck, I think that deck gets kind of broken. Because Dofi was, like, tier 2 at best before he got his starter deck. And those 5 cards were all pretty good. And they pushed him into, like, dominance of the format, right? Like,
I just don't know what else you would print for Bonnie without splitting the deck in half.
they didn't even give him 5 cards. They gave him like 4 good cards. One of the cards
Yeah.
isn't even played. The Crocodile.
Like for Bonnie, what? Yeah, like for Bonnie, what would you print realistically? Would you print like more Supernovas and say at the end of your turn, untap another dog?
Like, that's the it's like so hard to think of what they're gonna give these decks. Well, some of them we can make like some really easy support for that might push them a bit, but like Bonnie, the thing is with Bonnie, like, she has like every effect she kind of wants in her archetype. Like, I guess the only one is like Carrot's effect, but like, are you just gonna like copy Carrot's effect onto a Supernova? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but like, again, so much speculation with these starter decks.
We'll just
Like
have to
I said,
wait till we get closer. As we get
Yeah.
closer, they'll start doing reveals in English and Japanese, so that'll be nice.
I would still expect for the most part, like a little bit of speculation, but I would still expect for the most part that whatever decks that we see are good in OP11, like whatever new leaders that are performing really well out of OP11, whether it be Kobe, Blue Yellow Nami, I think those decks will still perform well, but it'll just be them plus however many other decks from those, however many other leaders from the starter decks that also get a huge boost. So instead of like maybe like 1 or 2 decks entering the top 2 tiers of the metagame, it might be like 4 new decks entering the metagame. Or not new decks, but like you know what I mean, like
new
4
contenders,
additional contenders. Yeah.
Like, it's going to be really interesting, right? Because as we have Teach, who's already in a top contender, and we'd have to wait to see how he shifts around with Cell 11. But Cell 11, frankly, has like 2 leaders that might break into the top 5. With the Star decks, we just don't know how much the meta's gonna shift. Like, how many... Because there can only really be like so many... There can only be 5 spots in the top 5, right? So it's like, how many spots move up, how many spots move down, like how close is it? Does the top 5, like, is it so close that we have to call it like a top 10? But like, the format's in a great spot right now, and I can't wait to see what the Star decks do. But there's just so much left to question about, because we don't have Star Deck 22 yet. So it becomes a question of, are we delaying Star Deck 22 to get these early? Since we're getting them a few months early, we don't know.
Yeah, and then there's also a question as far as like release schedules for main sets. Are we speeding up? Which it almost looks like we are. If you guys look at the like GTS distribution is like an example of that. It's like it already has like a few other products up there. That's, again, it's like open to the public as far as the links go and all that, as far as that release schedule. So like we can already kind of see they're starting to speed up the process a little bit for the West. I really do think that that's where Bandai's tried to take us as far as having a unified release, which makes sense.
Right. It looks like they're trying to like synchronize all of their games, since Fusion World already does have a synchronized release, and Digimon shortly after the release of this video will also have a synchronized release.
And Gundam already is from the get-go.
Right, so. Which only really leaves Union Arena and One Piece. And then with the most recent announcement, funny enough, Battle Spirits will be ending its distribution in America, but that was Battle Spirits Saga was a separate game from Japanese Battle Spirits. Yeah. I know, same name, different game.
Battle Spirits Saga was it was an expected loss, to be honest. I'm sorry.
There's like a whole history with that could be discussed, but that's not what I'm here for. 07's to you Battle Spirits players. Not much I could do to help you. I can recommend you some different games, though. It starts with 1 and ends with peace. With that being said, though, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave some comments down in the description. What of those 6 star decks are you hyped for? What do you hope gets broken? What do you hope gets Dookie support so that you don't have to play against locals?
I hope Blackbeard's underpowered. I hope it's just like... I hope the best card they get...
It's going to be a second Doc Q and Van Auger effect.
I'm hoping the most useful card they get out of that starter deck is just like a new 2K that's just better than Shiryu.
I was gonna say,
like, that's it.
It's gonna be like a boneless
better
version of Stronger.
But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Remember to like and subscribe. Let us know if you like this format of videos that we're putting out like a little bit shorter, not quite podcasts, but just like these shorter
just
20-minute
wanted to get the news out there
discussions.
so that you guys were aware of like what's happening in the scene and keep up to date with you guys.
But without further ado, I think we'll wrap it up here. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye bye.